do the pledge? Let's do the pledge.
Let's
all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Things go better.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to start saying the Lord's Prayer. Would you like the chair to recognize you to do that?
That's what I do in church.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to start off with some words of wisdom from the Wayne County Attorney, Ron Cross.
Oh, you know, you can put it on that kind of pressure.
Why not? Why not? Words of wisdom.
I have the drafts of the Make My Moves interlocal.
Okay, good, good.
It hasn't been approved yet by the city, so if you wanna,
Can we
I've
go
got-
first?
yeah, I've got 2 non-stapled copies, and then if you want them for your file. Basically, county will be funding the approximate second year of the renewal year to Make My Moves through consolidated edit, which is a little bit disingenuous to say the county's funding it, because the city does in fact contribute between 50 to 60% of the monies that go into that fund. So
Correct.
that is the mechanism for funding this second year. Hopefully we'll get the total of 30 household relocations. That's the target they're shooting for.
Right.
Val was here last, and I don't want to quote the numbers that she said we would achieve, but certainly making some progress.
Yeah, I thought we were about 16, but I'm not absolutely certain on that.
Well, there were 7 various points of the process.
Exactly, it's a moving target. So, this is essentially what we had reviewed a couple of weeks ago, but with some minor tweaks. And Mary Ann, are you prepared to approve it, or do you want to wait a week?
Nope, Ron's been very communicative with us, kept us in step with corrections along the way, so I move for approval of the interlocal agreement for the Make My Move program extension.
I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'll sign this copy.
So you want 2 signed copies, or do you want more than that?
I think 2 is sufficient.
Okay.
I mean, I think Val and her group can live with a copy of it executed, and I assume the city will want one.
Sure. Let's go ahead and do 3.
And again, I don't know the actual agreement between DMAP and the school with the city of Richmond, so.
Right, that's a contract between the
I
city
think,
and
you know,
TM.
this, under the scheme of things, as I understand them, we need to get this in place first, and the city will pass an ordinance that'll allow them to apply for that agreement.
That's my understanding as well.
So if we do that, then that should get it into their court. AJ does have a copy of that. We can. I had intended to follow up with folks at RCS on the fencing around over the G Street Bridge.
Okay.
I didn't want to misrepresent your position, but I thought I kind of detected a consensus last meeting that for the price tag that it comes with and the data that we have, such as it is, that there's not been any, I think we know any, the verified suicides that resulted from leaps off that bridge were not students, they were
There's all
adults.
3.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So if I represent that to be your preference, and
I think.
I'm not misstating your position.
I think what we're suggesting is barring some ability of the schools to help pay for the fence that.
Or I would just say to pay for the
To pay
fence,
for
since
the
you're looking at
fence.
shortfalls that otherwise.
Correct. We're already at 1.4 million and counting. 1.6 if we paid.
It'll probably be
For the
after the
whole
holiday
bridge,
before I
or
get a chance to connect
fence.
with them, because
Okay.
I think they're pretty well shut down.
Sure, okay.
And, you know, I should probably report that I did have a rather in-depth conversation with a adolescent psychiatric therapist who said that especially that age group, that teen age group, when met with a barrier, is challenged to find a way around it. And with bridges in such great proximity to G Street, she did not feel it would be much of a deterrent, which, you know, speaking as a professional, really helped persuade me that, given the history, given the cost, that really persuaded me that that would be the appropriate stand.
All right, we'll keep each other informed of any progress. Do you have anything else, Ron?
Just an FYI, this is more for you, Jeff, but I mean, just if everybody's interested, we did a refi, or a forbearance agreement for one of the borrowers of the COVID business loans.
COVID business loan, right?
And with that, I think it's fair to say that if we get this one back into a modified performing mode, if you would,
Right.
we will have basically all of them, at least to some degree, that
Everybody would be repaying.
will be repaying.
Several of them
About 5
have
or 6
completely
of them aren't
repaid.
able to do it on the original schedule, but are
Right.
still doing it.
Right.
That's wonderful.
It is.
So I'll get this to Selena.
Okay, great, great.
I'm wondering if that could be a kind of a teaching moment for the revolving loan fund candidates, because that has not been real active in recent years, has it, Jeff? Or-
It has not, but I think one of the things it indicates is we need to probably revisit the format and the rules surrounding the loans. And it might be wise to work with the city, who also has a revolving loan
Mhm.
fund, so that the two could complement each other and make them more attractive for folks to utilize. So this was successful. The city, the county, the Economic Growth Group, the EDC were all involved in coming up with the money to make those loans possible. So it was a team effort, and it seems to have paid off. And those businesses are still in existence, and as we said, with one or two exceptions, are able to repay the loans. So
I'm guessing this initiative had better performance than some commercial banks during that period.
that would just be speculation on
I
my
know,
part.
but it really is an excellent record. And I think what happened is that a need was identified, a need was met. Some businesses would have struggled. Some may not have survived without it. So if the revolving loan fund could take some lessons from that regarding its implementation, it would be a good thing.
Anything else, Ron?
I don't believe so.
All right, let's go to Steve Higginbotham.
Okay, you heard a little bit of presentation this morning with council, just to go into just a little more detail on a couple of those. The annex generator, you probably noticed some construction fence out there around the current generator that's below ground. They'll start working, installing the wiring and the control boxes and pouring the pad, which then goes, the pad that the new generator sits on, it's right to the north of the current generator, and it's still slated to be delivered the last week in July. So you would anticipate, if they've got everything in place, it would be a matter of setting the generator and hooking it up. So should be looking at something first couple of weeks in August, I would think.
Okay.
And
Well,
then,
so-
and then this system in here, remember, we've got two microphones, one that's gonna go above the podium and an extra wireless microphone, and then the control box that will allow it to be controlled with a tablet as well as a panel outside the room that we have over there. And Wilco Electronics, I've given him 3 dates this month, because he's gonna need a whole day to get these installed, and so the next 3 Fridays are open, so hopefully we'll see something.
When you say open, nobody has reserved.
Nobody's
this
reserved
room
the
to
room,
use.
yeah.
Okay, okay. But it's just one day is what he needs.
That's what he's indicating.
And he's got all the equipment, you said? that-
No, but he wants to start on what he has,
Oh,
and
okay.
then he anticipates so that he can continue to work, so.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as I indicated, LWC, you signed the contract with LWC, and they'll put that out for bids, and hopefully that'll go out, and you'll see something in August.
And again, those are two
Separate bids. Yeah,
right?
I've talked to
One for
Kevin,
the roof
and
one for the
he
ceiling.
agreed that 2 separate contractors, it'd be better for us to separate those projects so that the one main contractor wouldn't add a little profit margin to the sub-project. And again, you heard my explanation on the HVAC at Expo. We have contacted a local contractor. Actually, it's the same one who's put in the HVAC, and they're gonna put a control box in for those fan that's in the south gable, and it'll control both the louvers on the west side and the gable fan, so that you have a circulation in there without the HVAC running. And Brad at the fairgrounds has reached out to the contractor that will be doing the horse barn roof now that the fair is over. And he's got one job ahead of us, but you should see that in the
That should be soon. Okay.
next 30 days.
Okay.
And during the fair, we had a couple of issues, just for FYI. We had a lot of campers this year, big campers. I mean, there were some big motor homes, and then remember we had that real hot day, and so we were popping circuit breakers on the campsites pretty frequent. So the original ones that were put in were 30 amp breakers. That's kind of what the norm was back when Tom Raper put all those in. So as these pop, we put bigger breakers in them, and hopefully when it's all finished, we'll have them all updated.
So what size are we putting in?
50s and 60s.
Okay.
Are we ready for autumn oaks? Because campers are getting.
You know what, we never had any problem with Autumn Oaks, and we never had any problem with that camping group that came, and I can only attribute that to, they have nothing out there hanging out on the electric. You know, we've got all those vendors.
Right.
I mean, you've got
That's
fans
different,
running.
yeah.
I mean, we got a
Generators.
lot of stuff on the electric grid out there.
That's it.
So, in general, is it time that we start thinking about upgrading the electric service at the fairgrounds in general, or?
You know, if that's I think there's no question that, I mean, campers have gotten bigger. This year, I was amazed at the number of the motorhomes, the self-contained.
Rural, rear diesel pushers.
Yeah, they're just bigger, and a lot of them have 2 air conditionings front and back.
Right.
So, in answer to your question, probably. Now, we've upgraded around the, where the food vendors set up, we've upgraded those panels in the
And
last
so-
couple of years.
So those were fine, didn't
Yeah,
have any problem.
it's the camping pedestals, but, and then we had a sewer line backup, and there's a line that goes, and it started backing up into the hog barn. You know where that is. I mean, go figure.
So
yeah.
nobody noticed.
Nobody noticed it
for
right off
days.
the bat, yeah. But then that line goes over to Coleman, so we
That
had
they noticed.
we had a company who was real responsive. They came right out and they pumped that entire line. In fact, they pumped it twice. They pumped out about 10,000 gallons.
Wow.
And that got us through the night, and so then another company came in the next day, and we jetted it, and the blockage was south of Expo. There's a line that goes from about where the show arena is, and it diagonals southwest to the corner, and there's a big maple tree down there, and it, right in there is where it was blocked, so.
You think it was the root system?
Yeah, we're gonna have to probably do some work, and Brad could not remember in his memory ever having work done on this line, so we'll.
Okay. And you said you were having Richmond Sanitary map the
They
lines
came
and
out
everything?
and they determined that none of these, they initially thought some of them was their lines,
Okay.
but after they went back, they said, nope, they're all yours. So,
Ain't over that.
so I've got a company to give us a price on mapping, because my current maps that I have, I know they're deficient because it doesn't have anything shown for the bathrooms coming out of Expos. So my map that I have is pretty old, so we'll get a price on what it would cost to map that system.
Okay, and that's something we could pay for out of the fairgrounds fund, or is that something that's in building and grounds?
Either or, it depends on, I don't know what this is
How
gonna
much
cost.
it's gonna
I
cost, right.
wouldn't think it'd be a whole lot, especially with the technology that they have.
But I think we should also think in terms of upgrading the electrical system and seeing like what kind of expense that might be and how we might propose to pay for that.
Yeah, okay. And that's all I have.
So, Steve and I met with Mike Sharp to talk about the landscape, hardscape project, and whether the highway staff and equipment could be used on doing some of the demolition that was part of that original quote. Obviously, getting into something like that, it means that we need to get to the bottom of how do we need to pay for that if our staff is doing the work. So we have some time here because this wouldn't happen at least until the fall, but let's move that up to the front burner and see, exactly what the rules are and what we might need to change about our process to allow us to do that, because I still think on this one project alone, potentially, we could save $100,000 of taxpayer dollars. And
What are we looking at being our estimated cost, or does Mike have an estimate?
he doesn't have it yet.
I
but
haven't
he's-
really defined
he's
the
got-
scope of
He's
of
got
it.
some of the detail now so that he can start thinking about what his cost might be.
And he is looking to really contribute greatly by removing the brick work on the hardscape, right?
Absolutely. Well, and some of so the understanding is that under the brick is a layer of concrete. So that would need to come out too, and there are, depending on what we decide on, there's more than that. So we're still in the formulative phases, but first we need to understand the process, how we need to do
And
this.
I guess,
to
and I
do
don't
it
really know where
appropriately.
he is now. I mean, does all his labor get paid out of the motor vehicle excise tax revenue?
Correct,
All of his labor?
correct.
Now, I'd like to point out that he will be able to recover riprap from this exercise. So riprap retrieval is very definitely going to be a benefit to
Could be,
MVH.
we could make that case.
So 100% of the labor would not have to be chargeable to income tax.
Well, that's what we need to figure out, yeah. Okay, good point. Good
And he
point.
does a good job of keeping track of his hours.
Absolutely.
Yes, he's very good at
Well,
that.
and he has to anyway for the
Exactly.
the delineation for the
Yeah, that
state.
split, and so he's got the records. I think it's just a matter of how you account for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a significantly increased amount of bookkeeping work that will have to go into it. But if that's part of the cost of saving taxpayer dollars, then let's do it.
I think, not having to purchase riprap for years, I think could be a very good argument here.
All right, Steve, you said you're done?
That's all I have.
And I don't see Gina here or Mike. So let's go to
Clint?
claims. James?
Before Gina comes up, I did want, on our process for grants, I'm not sure who directs who to go to who. But the original plan, when we put that process together, this didn't have to go to council.
That was my
Correct.
Okay.
question when I was listening.
So I'm not sure who directed her to go to council.
I agree. I was questioning it too.
But,
Do we know who directed her to?
no, I don't think,
council?
we don't know, and.
I don't think we'll ever find out.
I don't think so either, but if it doesn't involve personnel, it does not need to go to council.
We can ask her in
Or
7 minutes.
it needs to go to council, it needs an additional appropriation for a reimbursement.
If
Now, like
it's a
the one,
reimbursable, yes.
the one that Randy had this morning, the sheriff.
Was a reimbursement.
And that's an example of when that grant was applied for, we should have probably designated where that was gonna be reimbursed from.
Exactly.
Okay, just comments.
No, agreed. So it's still a relatively new process, and we'll keep working on
I'm glad you confirmed
Yeah.
what I was questioning.
Yeah.
And I actually have talked to Gina since council meeting.
Oh.
And she said she was put on the agenda and she didn't request it. So her and I were trying, because actually the transfer already happened in May. So I really don't understand what was going on. But we decided to go ahead and let her come here, and then we'll just put those signed things with the original documentation that was done in May,
Good.
so that council knows it was done.
Okay.
Corey is so accustomed to coming to council and commissioners that it could be muscle memory on his part.
Don't know.
Yeah.
it. Okay. Steve, anything else?
No.
All right, let's go to claims.
Okay, move for approval of claims as follow. Jury duty dated June 28th. A standalone claim for Brian Larsh dated June 28th. Regular claims dated July 3rd. Boston Mutual claim dated June 27th. State payroll withholding taxes dated June 27th, and quarterly payroll deductions dated June 28th. Move for approval of all of these.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Also move for approval of commissioners' minutes dated June 26th.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So is this grant application that Gina's coming to the same one that went to council this morning?
Yeah, we haven't heard from her. I do have a question about the sheriff's license plate reader. Do you recall how he plans to deploy that equipment?
Well, what I heard was he was gonna sit out in front of your house and keep the radar on and the license plate reader going, so.
The speed limit on that one lane, 8-foot road is 55.
Yeah, it probably is.
And if any residents of that road try to get it reduced, tell them it is perfectly geared at 55.
the signing is out of the way, you want to go ahead while we're, oh, there she is. Come on up.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am here seeking approval to apply for the grant that's provided by Partnership for, thank you, Partnership for Direct, are I'm too loud?
No, it just beats back.
Partnership for Drug-Free Wayne County Grant. I am applying for $3,500. This is a grant that we've applied for in years past and have been granted $2,000 each year in the years past that we've been awarded the money. So I would just like your approval to once again apply for the grant. The grant is an opportunity for us to provide some personal items, some hygiene items for folks who are coming back from serving time in the Department of Correction or serving prison time. And also sometimes when they come out with little to no items of their own, it creates barriers. So we like to, this grant gives us the opportunity to help them out, get on their feet just a little bit and just a little bit of an extra step to help them get back into the community.
Okay,
To make a difference. Move for approval.
Second, we have a motion and a second to approve this grant application. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And
Thank you.
thank you for testing the microphone, and still a little feedback there, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Sharp is the last person on the hit parade. So before Mike gets here, why don't we go ahead with discussion of ARPA, Mary Ann?
Okay, the top part of my offering for consideration deals with those funds that I'm describing as recoverable
Yes.
from 2024 projects, which
Understood.
at some point, pretty soon, in the next few months, council and commissioners will need to examine those funds that have gone to pay for general fund projects in 2024 and maybe some 2025 spillage that could be recovered for funding of more ARPA-like projects instead of what have always in the past been general fund kind of projects from various department budgets.
I understand what you're saying, and you're right. There's in excess of $1 million still that's available. It doesn't all have to be committed now that we've committed the ARPA funds. The general fund doesn't have to be committed in 2024, but it can be.
And, you know, the county is not strapped. I think the bridge fund is really probably of all the funds we have, that one is the one with the most stress.
strained, yes. Agreed.
Bridges are stressed, and but otherwise the county has not experienced the ravages of inflation anywhere near like the bridge fund has.
I think we will either prove or disprove that theory with the budget hearings coming up in a few weeks. So,
Sure, inflation has touched us all,
absolutely.
but not like bridge construction, engineering, et cetera. I think that is probably going to be the
Wage.
worst hit.
I think wage inflation is still an open question on where we're.
That's still low double digits, not high double digits. I don't know, that's my feeling without high data to support it, but
So,
we know the bridge fund is
I
suffering.
agree with your numbers in general, that there's in excess of $1 million. So
Yeah,
you're.
but I'm only recommending that of that, well over $1 million, because, you know, I'm pretty well leaving the heavy duty numbers. What I'm not looking at as recoverable is the hardscape landscape, the new cabling, fairgrounds roofs. But I do question the security issues, especially the prox cards. I think that is questionably a necessary expenditure. I think we've gone for so many years without prox cards. I'm not sure our culture would tolerate it, that would be
Let's not,
worth its,
let's
Yeah.
not debate the efficacy of a particular project at this point. Let's talk about what you would like to put on the table for discussion. Because remember that all of these ultimately will have to be compared one against the other and prioritized.
right, but I just want to emphasize that of the recoverable general fund expenditures, I'm recommending that we only recover 700,000,
I understand.
a fraction of general fund expenditures that could be recovered for what I'm calling more community-based projects
I understand
rather than county
exactly what you're saying.
general.
So can we move on to what you're recommending?
First and foremost would be funding to actually make the animal welfare needs analysis actionable. We've spent the money for the analysis, but we at no time have ever really had a line item under consideration to take action as a result of that analysis.
Understood.
So, while the expert had a very high dollar amount, my feeling is, with sources in addition to this $500,000, great strides could be made to upgrade Wayne County and Richmond's care, education, as outlined in the study, which had some great educational, public education, some long-term fixes, not just dog catching kinds of activities, but some real long-term remediation in our needs for animal control and safety for Wayne County and Richmond.
Okay.
So I'm recommending that 500,000 be set aside for that ARPA project, while still a
Understood.
municipal project, a county project, an interlocal agreement between Richmond and Wayne County, but it still has great community support and value, because we do have animal issues that have not properly been addressed.
Okay, what's next?
The second one, surrounding counties have winter warming shelters to more properly care for those in jeopardy during the extreme cold winter months, and Wayne County has not. We've struggled over this last year to have spotty but somewhat sheltering of our most needy residents, but we have had heartfelt requests come from that nonprofit that we've not really heard from them or visited with them yet at any great lengths, but certainly if we're going to care for homeless animals, I think we should certainly give consideration for those in great jeopardy during our cold winter months, with
Okay.
a recommended sum of 50,000, which is basically what they're asking for
And
to
that
meet the need.
sum is a capital investment or a programmatic investment?
I think it's primarily capital with possibly maybe 10 to 20% programming, until we hear from Reverend Jesse, who
Okay.
leads that, spearheads that effort. I would hate to give you a hard number.
Okay, and what's the third thing on your list?
This one would be a public-private partnership, because I am not interested in Wayne County owning a high liability county park.
Thank you. Nor am I.
Maybe a week and a day ago, I might have been interested in that, but as of last week, limiting high liability properties is something I think high on our list. But I think one of our growing concerns is the violence that America is experiencing and Wayne County is no exception to that. The experience that young people are having virtually in the palms of their hands and on their computers and their tablets, I think has removed the reality of just how deadly violence can become so quickly. And also, young people are not experiencing outdoor life as they once did. So what I'm proposing is that we secure about $35,000 to do a county park needs assessment. A county park that would be unlike any that we've ever considered in the past. One that would feature rigorous outdoor and a gun safety training park. This would obviously require many public-private partners, including law enforcement, the NRA, retired veterans groups, etc., to really teach young people and not so young people the real ramifications of various weapons. So many people who are incarcerated today have been quoted as saying, "I had no idea what it was like to shoot a gun, I just wanted to find out." And I think curiosity about weapons is one of the reasons behind so much gun violence today. Dispelling that curiosity could be dispelled at a Wayne County park. Not just gun safety training, but
When you say a Wayne County park, you are saying a park in Wayne County. That would not be
that
owned
certainly has
by
the
Wayne
blessing
County.
of Wayne County government, the engagement of Wayne County law enforcement, the bully pulpit of Wayne County government and municipal governments to say, we want to get people outside. We want you to experience off-road vehicles. We want you to experience bicycles, water sports, fitness training. We want you to improve your health, your fitness, your knowledge of weapons. We want this to help reduce violence, especially among men. The violence among young men has become such a great issue in our culture, and if government doesn't address it, who will? By ending curiosity about violence, I think we can begin to teach self-respect, and through knowledge, I think we can address this issue through recreation, training, and knowledge.
All right, thank you very much for your input, and we will share those with council and Mr. Dwinger. Anything else?
I have many more, but I promise to be
You promised to
cut back, prudent.
to not be verbose. So now I know your definition of not being verbose.
5 minutes.
Exactly. Mr. Sharp, come on up.
We opened bids last week for the Community Crossings project for this year. So we received 3 bids. The first 2 would go for sealing, the chip and sealing project, single seal. We had 1 bid for the liquid asphalt, which was asphalt materials at a price of $2.627 per gallon. And then IMI was the only bidder for the stone and gravel. It'd be number 12 stone at $15.75, 11 gravel at $12.95, and 11B gravel at $12.95 per ton.
All right.
So I would suggest accepting those bids on the chip and seal part.
Move for approval of your recommendation.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then for the community crossings paving project, we only had one bidder for the hot mix asphalt. That was Milestone for the 9.5 millimeter surface at $71.50 per ton.
Move for approval of the Milestone bid.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Done and
And
done.
I'll say the prices came in a little lower than what we originally came in for what our bid was for the year, so they came in a little bit lower, so
Okay.
some of the community crossings money, we won't get the full amount that we put in for because of the prices are being lower, so
Okay.
if the numbers, if they come out or whatever and show off a little bit, then that's the reason why. So I
Okay.
think it's $4,000 or something like that.
Good.
So,
Anything
the only
else?
other thing I had was for my fringe benefits for signature for taxes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the non-cash fringe benefit report.
$92.57. Move for approval.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will sign this.
That's all I have unless you have anything.
Have a question.
Mhm.
Back a few months ago, or maybe several weeks ago would be a better description, council approved a $300,000 kind of arbitrary fund to address a lot of highway projects, mostly at the Centerville headquarters, et cetera.
Sure.
Can you give us an idea of how much of that is spoken for, or if you think some of that is left or is not really going to be necessary this year?
I can't yet, I hope to use it all, but I don't have all the figures in yet, so.
His original request was for about $1 million, maybe
Yeah.
a little more than $1 million, and we pulled that back to 300,000.
Right, so, Monday I'm meeting with, I got with Steve to find out, so one of the projects is to put in a wash bay for washing the trucks, so it'd be an enclosed bay where they can wash them. Right now, we have a pressure washer that sits in like a little utility building, they wash them outside, so, so I'm meeting with an engineer on Monday to get a scope of, so they can put something together as far as adding on to the one pool barn. It'll be on the south side of that, to put in a bay there for a wash bay. And then one of the other projects is to extend that same barn by about 20 feet to the west, because that barn, it was built like in 91, I wanna say. The equipment's a lot bigger than what it is, and that's where we paint at. So we can't get all the equipment. Some of the equipment we have to paint outside. So I'm kinda doing, when I talk with him then, make sure it's feasible that we could add on to the building. And then I wanted to do that in two parts. So one part would be for the wash bay, and then another part would be to do the extension. We could send those bids out then to see, can we handle both of them, or do we have to cut back to one, or kind of see where that money falls in at. The other project I'm waiting for is for on the painting. I'm gathering bids to paint the three buildings. I think the main building was painted last in 1999. The other building, I don't think it's ever been painted, and it was built in like 91. And the other one, I have no idea when it was painted, if it's ever been painted. So trying to get bids put together for that. So once I get those put in, the calcium tank, we're sitting around $73,000 on the calcium tank. We haven't gotten the bill for the actual calcium tank. It has not been received. The only other thing we'll have to do for that is, which we'll be able to run the wiring to get the electric to where that's gonna go. The cement's been poured for that pad. We poured the cement on that pad, and that's been paid for, but the tank's been ordered. We've not made payment on the tank yet, so just kind of looking at those projects, and then we'll kind of see where we stand once I get all the figures in.
So you have experienced some cost savings that you're looking to possibly have some project expansion to offset the cost savings you've had in some other areas. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
I'm not for sure I follow
No,
that.
his original request was a lengthy list of projects for over $1 million.
Right.
Yeah.
What was
They're doing the
approved
fuel-
was $300,000. That's,
Excluding the fuel tanks.
the fuel tank was a separate
Yeah, that was,
$500,000.
that ship sailed.
That's 500,000. We
Yeah.
will meet that. I think the projection of that total cost is gonna be over 500,000, which we will
You're making
encumber
up the
that
rest of
part.
that.
Yeah, you knew it was gonna be a scotch over maybe,
I think 525,000, right
Yeah.
around in that range, depending on,
So bottom line is, you've got more than enough projects to fully utilize the $300,000.
Correct.
I would just
well, yeah, everybody.
remember
would.
to advise you that they have to be under contract no
Right.
later than December.
right, the buildings, I anticipate with having the engineering done and so forth, that we may, I would hope to have it bid out.
Right.
And then we'll see where the bids are way before the end of the year. I don't expect that to actually be built this year, but then
Right,
we can have it bid out, have the
Got the
bidders in
contract.
place to be able to
As long
build
as
that
it's
in the
under
next
contract.
year.
Right.
And then, once we get the pricing in, we'll kind of see, we may be sitting at 280,000, or we may be sitting at 320,000.
Right.
And then we can decide, okay, well, we either come up with another $20,000 if we go over the, or whatever that amount is to go over, that we'd either have to come up with, or we cut to these projects, and there may be some extra money left over then that we say, okay, well, I can't use a full 300,000, and here you go.
But your 2024 budget has certainly been helped by this ARPA money.
Absolutely,
Yes, yes.
no question.
So,
Yeah.
but because obviously what I'm doing is sniffing around for some ARPA money, because this money was not all intended to be gone forever. We just needed to protect it because of its time limit to be under contract.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, I
you-
understand the ending of the contract, it has to be under contract and so forth, but I don't know that all the projects will be done, the fuel tank should be done.
Doesn't have to be done, it has to be under
Under
contract.
contract,
Right.
right. So,
Okay.
yeah, I get that part of it, I will,
Okay.
I don't know until I get all the pricing in, and then it'll come back to you and council to decide, yeah, there's an overrun of this X amount of money, no, you're not gonna get any more, or, and then we may have extra if we don't hit that plateau,
And then
so.
your 2026 budget may get back to normal, where you buy all your own dump trucks and all your, you know, because you've had a lot of help.
Well, let's hope not.
Thanks,
But
Mike.
typically, council has, the last several years, they've given $150,000 towards buying equipment. In years past, it was up to $1 million.
Absolutely.
So
That they-
maybe the sheriff should buy your dump trucks going forward, how's that? Yeah,
I always look for money, you know, how to
Okay.
save money, so.
all right, well, I
Thank
think
you,
I
Mike.
just wanted to kind of get a touch on that, because there's, we've got to make decisions and we're running out
Sure.
of calendar.
Right,
Anything else?
that's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Gina, you're still here. Do you have something else?
I do. I'm back one more time.
Okay.
This morning, I got approval for council, but the form that I have also requires commissioner signature for the auditor, just to transfer $21,288.32 within the Department of Correction
Yes.
grant from Community Corrections, to a part-time line item for, our part-time clerical person. So I'm asking this transfer be made so that we can keep our funds, to spend our funds out of the grant money instead of otherwise.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Move for approval.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You wanna
And
bring
did
that up?
you get your signature for the grant application?
Yes.
Okay.
I got that through, oh, I did not need a signature for that, I see what you're saying.
I think you do for a grant application.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as you're here.
Okay.
If you have the paperwork, might as well get it while
I
he's
will-
right here.
I will go find it, I will get that, thank you.
Well,
Okay.
he's handy.
Yeah, thank you, I'll be right back.
Bobby,
I have nothing.
Steve, Debbie, Ron, Mike, Mary Ann.
Under an hour.
All right. We're adjourned.